To begin, I'm going to talk about timbre because this is a lot of fortissimo playing, and there are some tricks to getting a out front result on some of these fortissimo sustained notes that I've learned from orchestral tuba players. Fortissimo for tuba is a timbre. It's the thing that defines it from just a strong note to a fortissimo note is brassiness that blends with the trombones more in the trumpets, that little sizzle that loud notes will get. Right, this is a normal note. Or it's got that punch to it, right? Now the sustained note that's fortissimo before A, that's C. When you're marching around, you're going to be hating life if you're trying to hold that fortissimo the whole time, and you're probably not even going to get a full, true fortissimo the whole time. So what I would do is front end the note, back it off slightly like a forte piano, but we're going to do a fortissimo to a strong mezzo forte / maybe it's forte, you can't quite tell, but it's a loud end mezzo forte. And here's how that sounds. And then you sustain all the way through that full thing, and you'll have just enough air to make the whole note happen at a maximum amount of volume, and that front end's going to present your sound into the rest of what's going on, to where your sustain, the longer you hold it steadily, the louder it sounds like it is, even though you're not technically playing louder. Next section is A and C. Those present some challenges. So what I would say on those ones is there's some accented notes. Those are the melody. Those accented notes. That's the melody. So I would learn that at tempo, maybe below tempo and work it up to tempo, but learn the melody notes first, throw in the ostinato stuff later, after you can very easily at tempo play the actual melody part of it. So notice I broke up that tied double whole note at B. The trick on there is if you're breathing in there is don't have everyone breathe the same spot. Also, when you come back in, don't have an accent. Sneak in, okay? And then only accent the third bar of B and the first bar of B on those whole notes. Because you want to present a whole note and then have it sound like a sustain. You got two tuba players, one of you pick breathe on 4, one of you pick breathe on 1. Easy. And both have to be playing forte. Match each other's volume. Okay, but the ostinato pattern, back to that. Right? Slow it down. Okay, so playing through this, we want K to sound louder than everything else. Unfortunately, there's a lot of whole notes in here, and K's not whole notes. So, in order to sound louder at K, you have to play everything else slightly quieter. There's a crescendo on a long note going up to J. That's easy to do. Make it sound louder. All those sustained notes before K, in between J and K, easy. Just lots of air. It'll sound nice and loud. K, there's nowhere really to breathe there, not really. So you're going to have some shorter notes, and shorter notes sound quieter than longer notes. So what you're going to need to do, starting way back at D, is you're going to need to just play a mezzo forte the whole time. A strong mezzo forte though. We're not talking about laying back at all. It's got to be forte realm. Give yourself somewhere to go, so that by the time you get to that crescendo before J, you can actually give it something where you're not having to drop down in order to manufacture a crescendo. And then at K, it needs to be louder, so you cannot be giving it your all at J. It has to be less than your all. And that way you can give it your all and have something louder at K, which is already going to sound quieter because the notes are shorter. So that's going to be the challenge. Okay, another little accent thing. E. The first and last note of those bars are accented. The second note is not. So it's bum, 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 bum. So just something to be aware of. All these accent notes, they're all informing the melody. So if it's accented, if it's not accented, so play the accents on purpose, especially when you're memorizing it. Because once you've memorized your music, if you memorize it wrong, it's permanently wrong. So when you're working this up and memorizing it, memorize it with all the accents in there properly. Okay, here's going to be D to the end. There's also, pay attention to what's flat and what's not flat, because at H, there's an A flat. However, there's a line that goes down until you hit I, and that A is no longer flat. It's an easy little thing to mess up because you're playing a lot of first valve notes, and that A is going to be second valve, and it can sneak up on you if you're not paying attention. So this is going to be D to the end. 1, 2. Notice I was sniffing in between every single one of those quarter note triplets on the last like 2 bars. Bum, 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 bum. It's the only way to play those loud and long enough for them to sound loud out front without having those notes be quieter all of a sudden. So you have to sniff to get air in between each and every one of those notes. That way you can have as long of a note possible on every single one of them.